One. Hi everyone. Moment of my life, you alone, you belong, you alone, you alone. Hey, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Hi everyone. Hi everybody, come on in. You alone, you alone, you alone. The power, 𝒂𝒐𝒓𝒂𝒏𝒕. Hello, Brazilians, how are you? You alone, you alone, you alone, my serve of bound. Hi everyone. I wrote this one to say, hey! You are the lover of my soul. I give you praise. You are the lover of my soul. All the while, the one who makes me whole. You are my Alpha and Omega. Hey, my Father forever. Hey. All the while, you are all the while. That is his name, is all the while. Come on in, everybody. Hello, everyone. Come on in. He is indeed God. God remains God all by himself. He remains God all by himself. He remains. Hi, Miss Stanley. How are you? He remains God all by himself. I am sitting here tonight because God remains God. So, hi, everyone. This is Attorney 𝒊𝒎𝒎𝒊𝒈𝒓𝒂𝒏𝒕. I'm a bit shaky still because this morning, just like every other morning of my life, I'm going to work. Got on the road on I-20, minding my own darn business. And long story short, I was in an accident this morning on the interstate while it was raining cats and dogs. So my car is in the body shop and they're going to decide to tell you how bad it is. They're going to decide if it's something that will be fixed or they're going to total it. But because God remains God, left that scene without a scratch. Without a scratch. I am very okay. Still a little shaky, but without a scratch. Not a scratch. Not a scratch. Because he says the number of my days he shall fulfill. See, I put up a post yesterday. And I usually put it up. And I tell you guys, I put it up for myself. But I know someone else is going to benefit from it. And I put up a post. It was just in my mind. And I said, you know, wherever you are, just raise your hands to the heavens and thank God for what he's about to do this week, because he's going to exceed your expectations. Hey, he's going to exceed our expectations. He is not meant that he should lie. As he's spoken, and will he not do it? Unfazed. They had to tow my car. And so tomorrow I'll know if the insurance is going to write it off or it's going to be taken care of. But his name alone be praised. His name alone be praised. 𝒊𝒎𝒎𝒊𝒈𝒓𝒂𝒏𝒕. His name alone be praised. He has spoken, and will he not do it? He said he will, number of my days he will fulfill. None shall cut short our destiny. None can cut short our destiny. I was like, should I put, post the photos this morning? But I was like, I'm not posting photos to make anyone or to let the devil win. But I give my testimony because I am alive. I was heading to court. Had to call the judge. I'm like, hey, I'm still a bit shaken. I just got in an accident. She goes, a year ago. And when I sent them the photos, like, not a scratch? No, not a scratch. Because he remains faithful. I will serve Jehovah until the day he calls me home. And that day is not anytime soon, because I have a whole lot of work to still do on this side of heaven. And by God, I shall complete it. I shall see my children succeed. I shall live and not die, to declare and continue to declare his goodness, his mercies, and his faithfulness. Because the Bible says 1,000 would fall at my side, 10,000 by my right side, but they shall not come near me. Only with my eyes will I behold the reward of the wicked. Hey, so shall it be. As he's spoken, and will he not do it? No weapon formed against us shall prevail. We say it, we decree and declare. I am a big believer in getting up each day and decreeing and declaring and prophesying into your life, into the lives of your children, because no one is promised tomorrow. But because we do not know what tomorrow is going to bring, we cannot control anything. But as long as our trust is in the one who controls everything, that's all I need. And so I am just grateful. I am grateful. I'm still playing in my head. I'm like, wow. But my work is not done exactly. So I sit here and I give testimony to God. And I pray that our lives will not be cut short, that we will fulfill our destinies, that we will continue to give him glory, because he will continually exceed our expectations. And all shall be well with us and all our loved ones. Let's talk immigration. All right, tonight. Come on, people. If you need to contact our office, contact information is 334-341-4475. You can also visit our website at 𝒊𝒎𝒎𝒊𝒈𝒓.com. Listen, hey, I'm telling you, there is nothing. I wake up each day and it's prayer. I am helpless. I am hopeless without God. It is not by my will. Someone was telling me today, like, no, it's what you did for me and my family. I said, no. The day I begin to take credit for what God uses me to do, that's the day I begin to fail. I am clearly convinced, and it's clear in my mind that all men may see and know and consider altogether that his hand alone does it. It's not any people, sometimes I hear other attorneys say, yeah, I did that. I know to each their own, but I know, because I know that I look up to, I lift my eyes to the hills where my help comes from God, the maker of heaven and earth. Fully convinced and very aware that because of him, I am. Because of him, I do. Visit our website at 𝒊𝒎𝒎𝒊𝒈𝒓.com. Please share this video. Very, very important message this morning. This evening, I want to talk about Vawa. And thank you. And we're still just texting over the weekend. I hope Mr. Ernest had a wonderful, wonderful birthday. I ain't going nowhere. I ain't going nowhere. I thank him. I give him praise. I bless his name. I thank him. I give him praise. My heart is thankful. My heart rejoices. My heart gives him all the glory, all the praise. I thank him. Okay, people. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, 𝒊𝒎𝒎𝒊𝒈𝒓 Immigration. Follow us on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and what else? Yeah, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Subscribe to YouTube. Please share this video. Once again, the contact information is 334-341-4475. Let's talk immigration. Okay, today I want to talk to you guys tonight about common grounds for VAWA denial. So I'm going to be sharing my screen on YouTube and Facebook, but I'll tell you guys on TikTok and Instagram what I'm showing. But I do a lot of VAWA cases. People always think that I do more VAWA than I do anything else. No, because I represent universities, I have quite a bit of, quite a lot of employment-based cases that they keep me busy with. So really, it's 50-50. I just talk more about family-based on lives on my page because many people do not have access to what employers really have access to. Like they already know me, right? They refer me, one university refer me to the other person, the second university refer me with prayer and everything. So it's like, okay, domino effect, and I thank God for that. But I talk a lot about family business, especially when it comes to VAWA green card, because a lot of people are not aware that they have that option. A lot of people are still stuck in marriages and feeling that they don't have any reason or any other option, no way to get out, just to deal with abuse and being controlled. But VAWA is a way where you can file for your own green card yourself. You don't need your spouse. You don't have to inform them. It's a confidential process where USCIS is precluded by law from contacting that spouse and asking them any information. Let me repeat that. I have so many times had consultations with people that will say, we go through the whole scenario and I say, you are the poster child for a VAWA case. The one common thing that holds people back is, what is going to be the effect on my spouse? There is no effect on your spouse. Let me say that again. When you file for VAWA, it has no effect on your abusive spouse. USCIS cannot use the information you share about that spouse against that spouse because it defeats the whole purpose of what the VAWA Act wants to do, which is to protect you and give you your green card in confidence. So your spouse's life goes on as normal. That's it. Nothing happens to them. You just use that information as far as being in the marriage, and because of their actions towards you, rather than them controlling your immigration status, you are now able to control your immigration status and file for yourself. That's that in a nutshell. So hear me loud and clear when I tell you that your spouse is not affected in any way negatively when you file for VAWA. There's nothing that they don't get arrested, they don't get investigated unless they have done something on their own. Example, they fought somebody outside or they physically assaulted you and you filed a police complaint, and that's a separate case being handled by your state law enforcement. Has nothing to do with your USCIS case. The only thing you would have to do is you can use that as part of your evidence. So if you are on the fence because you feel like your spouse is going to be affected if you file for VAWA, please hear me loud and clear. Your spouse is not going to be affected by you filing for VAWA. They're not going to consult them. They're not going to investigate. Nothing. No, people have children. Even I have clients who had a baby after filing for the VAWA is still pending. I've had a client who went back to her husband after VAWA approval. You're not even required to get a divorce. Life continues as normal. Okay. So when you file for VAWA, which is the way you get your green card based on being abused, being a subject of abuse, physical, emotional, sexual, financial, mental, what else? Psychological abuse, all that. Anything that rises to the level of physical abuse or extreme cruelty. There are points that you have to prove in a VAWA case. There are 7 criteria that you have to prove in a VAWA case. If any of those 7 requirements is missing, it doesn't matter how much abuse you have suffered, USCIS will deny your case. So let's get right into it. What are the common grounds for VAWA denial? Basically, that's what we're talking about tonight. What are the common grounds for VAWA denial? Okay, let me see. Share my screen, share my screen, share my screen. What the heck is it? Okay, hold on, people. They have changed this. What is it? Oh, there we go. So StreamYard has moved things around. All right, so let me Vawa Common Grounds. Here we go. Share. All right. If you are on Facebook, and let me make this a bit bigger. If you are on Facebook and YouTube, can you let me know in the comment section, and I'll tell you guys what I'm sharing on the screen, if you're able to see. I'm going to be coming up later on. Thank you, Ms. Agatha. If you are on YouTube and Facebook, let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Yes, no, people, come on. Come on, people. Let's go. Perfect. Thank you. Somebody else, that's someone on YouTube. Anyone from Facebook, can you confirm that you can see my screen? Anyone? Somebody? Nobody? Perfect. Thank you. Okay. All righty. So on Instagram and on TikTok, I am sharing. So I put together, and I mean, we can talk about it, but I can put a post up so you guys can download it if you want. What are the requirements that are expected when you file a VAWA case? What are the requirements for you to prove your VAWA case? Number one, qualifying relationship as a spouse, intended spouse, or former spouse of a U.S. citizen, a lawful permanent resident of the United States. Number two, that you're eligible for immigrant classification based on that qualifying relationship. Number three, you're living in the United States. Or if you're not living in the United States, when you're physically present, you're living abroad, and that U.S. citizen, legal permanent resident, is an employee of the United States government, a member of the armed forces, military person, or the abuse that you suffered actually occurred while you were in the United States with that person. Number four, that you have resided with the U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident spouse. Number five, that you have suffered abuse, physical abuse, battery, or extreme cruelty. Number six, that you're a person of good moral character. And number seven, that you entered into the qualifying relationship in good faith. You have to satisfy all those 7 requirements in order for your VAWA case to be approved. So anyone whose VAWA case has been approved, it's because you have met all those requirements. When I tell you that besides 1 and 2, for those who are sitting on the fence about a VAWA case, if I tell you that besides requirements number 1 and 2, qualified relationship, and that you're eligible, meaning, because I'll get to that in a minute, 3 through 7, you're able to meet with single documents, detailed declaration. Even if you don't have a lot of good faith, your detailed declaration also helps you to prove good faith and shared residency. Good moral character, people who can attest to your character, who the person who you are, as well as your criminal record. So those are things that, living in the United States, very straightforward. You've been physically present. Your I-94 will be able to show that. Your travel history would also help to show that. Abuse, you have a psychological evaluation report. Your declaration also states what your abuse you suffered. If you have physical injury or physical abuse, you have photographs. If it's not physical abuse, then photographs, restraining order. But if it's non-physical, your testimony, really, your declaration is what it comes down to. But in cases that are non-physical abuse, it is absolutely of the utmost importance that you have psychological evaluation. So you have a therapist who is going to give you a detailed report. I work with therapies that have detailed reports. I'm not talking of 1 page. Yeah, they saw me yesterday, saw me today, end of story. No, that's just not it. So those are the requirements for a VAWA case. What are the common denial grounds? That's basically what we're talking about this evening. Number one is the qualifying relationship eligibility. That's number 1. I can tell you that's number 1. And y'all already know where I'm going with that. Number 2, shared residency. And number 3, good faith. You can always prove physical presence, a good moral character. That's no big deal. The abuse part, because a lot of times credible evidence is what comes into play. A declaration will suffice in addition to a psychological evaluation report in non-physical abuse cases, right? What else? That the person you're living here, but shared residency, qualifying relationship, and good faith. Good faith is the same standard that is required in a regular marriage-based case. So if you're doing a regular marriage-based case, some people would say, okay, they deny their case and then they want to file for VAWA. And I always tell people, the very first thing when people consult with me and I tell them is this: the fact that you didn't have sufficient good faith evidence in your first case doesn't mean the VAWA is not going to ask you for the same thing. It's the same good faith standard in a VAWA case. You have to still show good faith. So you cannot run away from that. Good faith is, your utility bills, your lease agreement, your photographs, your affidavits from people. That goes a long way. Because when it comes to a VAWA case, USCIS by law, because that's what the act says, they are required to take into consideration that because of the abuse that immigrants are subjected to, your access to documents will be limited, restricted, or even non-existent. So all you may have will be your declaration. And in addition to that, people who can attest to the fact that they know that your marriage is real, they attended your wedding, your wedding planner can write an affidavit on your behalf. People you take vacations with together, people you visit. Do you go to a friend's home to watch NFL and Sunday night football games, whatever the case may be? Who's your neighbor? How often do they see you? Does the neighbor take care of your child on your behalf, and your spouse brings a child? Those are things that witness affidavits can contain that would also help to show good faith. Most of the evidence you're going to need for good faith is what you're also going to need for shared residency. But the good thing right now is, with shared residency, it's not just about after marriage. USCIS will now consider the time that you lived with that abuser before you got married. So any evidence you have, you moved in together, the fact that somebody, had to end their own lease to move in with the other person to in preparation of starting their life together, those are things that they will consider as part of credible evidence for shared residency before you even get married. So it's not just, it used to be shared residency evidence has to be after marriage, but now earlier this year that was changed to include anytime even before marriage. So that makes that a lot easy. Now, Sisi lawyer told about this already divorce decree. So come on, deny our grounds. Number 1, 2, 3, qualifying relationship, shared residency, good faith. So we've talked about the shared residency. We've talked about good faith. The common issues are improper divorce decree. Charity, if you all the red stars, see, like if I could put like 200 million red stars, improper divorce decree, insufficient shared residency proof. I've had cases and I had someone's case where someone they had gone for another attorney. The attorney did a lot. I mean, she went above and beyond. USCIS still denied it. So I did the appeal part of it, and we still weren't successful for whatever reason. One thing that was the problem in that person's case, text messages are very, very big. When you send in text messages, USCIS reads your messages, whatever screenshots you send in. So in that case, the initial lawyer had sent in just one singular text where USCIS just held on to you and said, that's it. They didn't live together. Because before they started living together, they were exchanging texts and trying to prepare how they were going to merge their lives together. And USCIS took that as, there was a part where the lady had sent a text saying good morning. And so USCIS came back and said, if you're living together, why are you saying good morning to the person and asking them when you can come over? So you've got to understand that, text, not every text message, like, I can't even tell you how many text, there's a client who sent me like, I want to say almost 15 screenshots that I had to print out. And out of everything, I probably used just 4. Because I read through all text. No one is perfect. I'm sure I've made errors in the past and probably will still make errors moving forward. But as long as you're trying to be diligent, I read through all the text messages. And for me, I try to put myself in the position of the immigration officer. If I'm the officer, those text messages were reading as someone who had paid somebody to get them a green card, because it was more about giving money. But where the ones I wanted them to see and to notice is where my client was saying, this is not how we started. Why did you change? Why did it become all about money? So those were the ones I selected as part of what we were going to send. And all the 11 or thereabout, I was like, and I will tell you why I'm not sending it. And I'll tell you that this is something I've seen. It's going to create a problem. We're not going to send it. So shared residency is, if you're not able to have anything with that abusive spouse, just put it in your declaration that the reason I don't have all of that is because I've been denied access. The spouse will not open accounts with me. They would not put me on the lease. They would not put me on the mortgage. I have to even tell them before I leave. My neighbors can testify to that. But I live with them. This is the time they come home. I see this neighbor comes home at this time. My neighbor drives this car. My neighbor's kids are ages, whatever, what is their names. You can go confirm. Your declaration is so important when it comes to good faith as well, shared residency, and the abuse. The one thing that your declaration is not going to help you with is the qualifying relationship part of it. You can have every single kind of abuse. You can have good faith to the heavens. Shared residency, perfect. You're a person of good moral character. You serve the homeless. You do everything. You're in church even before Jesus comes into church. Yeah. If your qualifying relationship does not exist, so eligibility, that you're eligible for the immigration classification comes down to, is your abuser a citizen or a green card holder? You have to be able to establish their status. Now, there are situations where you will not have access to the records. And there is a part of the Immigration and Nationality Act that allows you to specifically ask USCIS to check their records and verify that let me take this. Okay, I'll put that. Let me take this down because the banner is, okay, here. That your abusive spouse is a citizen or green card holder. But on your part, you've got to, thank you very much, you've got to show them, give them as much information about that spouse. So a lot of the two, okay, one had the wife's information. The second one that was approved early this month, was last week in October. She didn't have anything about his citizenship, but we knew his date of birth, his full name, his mother's name, his sister's name, and then the last job he had, and then the addresses they had lived in, for the last 3 addresses they had lived in. So you give them as much information as you can, and then ask them to check their and that he became a naturalized citizen on or about a year, about the estimate year that the person either was born or became a citizen, naturalized. And so with that, they were able to search their records, and and that was one of the reasons we got an RFE, but that went through. So I'll tell you about a case that I got, that my client had, and I was talking about it last week, that it got denied. My client had gone to this under the table, and in fairness to the client, they did not know, because this person set up shop as an immigration attorney, told the client they were a lawyer, a law firm. He actually used a Dr. something in his name. Long story short, the person is in jail right now. He's in federal prison, actually, federal custody. He scammed a lot of people. So one of the things that they did was to include a fake psychological report with the cases submitted to the client. I don't ever take a case without doing a FOIA request. I don't care how good your case was. I don't care if you have all the records. I would always do a FOIA request to know what USCIS has in their record, in their custody, in their possession, and then I'll know exactly what I'm dealing with. But with her case, we didn't have time because we had limited time for appeal. So I said, okay, I don't do this, but the one thing is I'm still going to have to charge you for, in addition to the FOIA request. Hopefully we get it before the submission date is due. And the reason why I needed to do that is because she knew that there was something wrong based on the notice of intent to deny that USCIS had sent, because they highlighted that, you know, the psychologist license was someone who is actually a practicing licensed professional counselor, but he's not in that state where the person represents. So they actually used somebody else's record and doctored up a document and sent it in. Like, people have, let me see what I was going to say. But so basically, USCIS says we actually had to prove they came back with RFP for everything except good moral character and physical presence. Everything else, abuse, shared residency, good faith, except good moral character, physical presence, and the status. She already had his birth certificate. But everything else, it was like starting the Vawa case from scratch. So good faith, shared residency, abuse part of it, and qualifying relationship. So I went to work. I love drafting briefs. I mean, that's why I have gray hair. I love it. I love arguments. And sometimes I'm very, very brash. And I think sometimes it can backfire. But I drafted everything back. I told her and I said, hey, let's have a meeting. The problem we had is she had sent in divorce decree from Nigeria that even from a very far distance, you could even see like, no. I said it was eventually denied because in spite of the argument we tried to make, and I said it like, listen, she was actually more concerned about the fake psychological evaluation, but so I sent her to get a proper and real psychological evaluation with a company that I use. We had a very detailed declaration because the declaration they submitted on her behalf was, even USCIS said it had no direction. It was all over the place, was their exact phrase. Did a detailed declaration, explained, it was not non-physical abuse. Long story short, we were able to rebut everything else except the qualifying relationship issue. USCIS just did not accept that divorce decree was real. There was no acceptance of verification, nothing. And they based solely on number one. They said you have not satisfied, established your eligibility under paragraph 1, solely based on the fact that the divorce decree was not genuine. So brings me to my next point. What is the solution, people? Get a done lawyer to do your divorce. And barrister 𝐸𝐿𝐵𝒐𝒻. No, that's not what we're talking about. Get a real family law attorney back home, wherever home is, Nigeria, Ghana, Jamaica. Get a real attorney. Let them help you with divorce. If you are here, the best thing you can do is to contact your spouse. If your spouse is not here, your spouse back home, and say, hey, we've gone our separate ways. I'm here. I can easily initiate a divorce as long as you agree to, because foreign country cannot have personal jurisdiction over you unless you waive service and you waive personal jurisdiction. If you're agreed to do that, I'll just do the divorce here. I'm in the middle of doing 3 in the state of Alabama for people who had filed their cases, were denied, and now they reach out to me like, okay, let's start afresh. They're just regular marriage cases. I'm not going through and doing their foreign divorce, uncontested divorces here. Takes 30 days in our state, in the state of Alabama. Once you file it, it has to sit on the docket for 30 days. Day 31, the judge signs it, and the story, you're divorced. So get a done lawyer to do your divorce, or you file your divorce here. Please. I cannot perform magic with a divorce decree. There's no argument around that. There's just nothing you can do. Marriage Act says, and I can talk for Nigeria now, if you got a high court divorce, it has to say the ground is irretrievable breakdown of marriage. If you got married in the registry, You cannot provide a customary decree, divorce decree, as termination proof of a statutory marriage. You have to know what you're doing, because whatever it is you submit, it will come back and bite you. Brings me to another person that I had to work with, and it was a losing battle almost to start with. They had filed asylum 7 years ago. Got somebody, on street lawyers in to help them. For whatever reason that this person understands, this person put in divorce documents that had nothing, absolutely nothing to do with the asylum case. She had even forgotten that she even had that. Filed for Vawa. USCIS brought up what she submitted with her asylum case, that it contradicted what she submitted with the Vawa case. They have your record and they will pull it up. So get a darn lawyer to do your foreign divorce or file your divorce here. A detailed signed and notarized declaration. A signed and notarized declaration is like a sworn statement, just like you're giving testimony under oath in court. Witness affidavits come into play when it has to deal with good faith, shared residency, and abuse requirements that can help you to make your case much stronger. And that's all she wrote. There's no one who's going to tell me I didn't get that. I got that one. And you Yoruba people, I got that one. I got that one. All right, people. Let's go to questions. Okay. Let's see. All righty. Thank God. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to put Miss Agatha says, Val was the name I know through you. Okay, and with that, my freedom, I would always be grateful to you, the best lawyer of all. Thank you. That is why I do this work, and God willing, I will continue to do this so that we've come a mighty long way to now have, and we work too hard. Do you know how many hours immigrants work? Overtime, night shift, and it's, even if you have your own business, it's a nonstop thing. And then to now have to worry about whether or not you can stay, but you're welcome, Miss Agatha. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. Yes. Thank you, people. And I find myself lost. I find you talking about something I kept thinking there was no way out, and God give me freedom. Thanks to you in the world, watching your videos, and your answers in the videos helped me much more than you can imagine. You are always in my prayer. Y'all gonna make me cry. I'm already emotional today, so I am. And I mean, listen, don't push it. Just thank you. Okay. Avery, I hope I didn't murder your name. If the VA case is approved, can they ask you any question about the case during the green card? They cannot ask you anything about the abuse. Good question. Your 485 interview is all about admissibility, has nothing to do with your requirements. Now, this is the only thing that can intersect. Good moral character for VA purposes is primarily 3 years before you file. I-485 can go way beyond the 3 years. So if you have something in your record that may be a ground to find you lacking of good moral character and become an inadmissibility ground, you may need a waiver at some point. So that's the only time that they may cross. But about the abuse, about the status of your abuse, no. All that has been taken care of with Vermont Service Center. But that's a good question. Nani says, my package didn't have psychological evaluation, was broke. You can always send it in. As long as they haven't made a decision on your case, you can always send it in. Unless you've been waiting like almost 3 years, wait, it's close to a decision, then Yeah. Olufemi Ayodeji, does prima facie mean 80% approval? No. Prima facie is not an approval. It is a pre-approval. Can you still get denied even after having prima facie issued? Yes. Can you still get approved without ever having prima facie issued? Yes. So, but prima facie is like, okay, I see we're on you, and just looking at it on face value, and you're like, can we check all the, and if you've ever done a FOIA request, which I do a lot, you would see how, and FOIA request gives you an insight into what the officers are doing, because they have checklists. They go by checklists. So I use those checklists when I do FOIA requests to say, oh, okay, got that in. All right, I'm going to use that too. So it's more about, okay, can we check, is there some evidence of this requirement? Check. Approved for PFD. Then they have a deeper review of your case. And that's where the issue of, okay, if you put a marriage certificate, yes, but you indicated in your I-45 that you've been married 3 times and there's no divorce decree of any of those marriages, then they send you an RFE. We need proof that you were legally free to marry. So it's not 80% approval. It is a good thing. It's a step in the right direction. So if you've never received one for whatever reason, either of two things, and I've done FOIA requests for people that had other attorneys and say, I never got one. There was one guy that we just recently did a FOIA request. His case has been pending for 2 years, never got a prima facie determination. I said, hey, you already know before I take your case, I have got to do this. And when we got the records back, he's been issued 2 prima facie determinations already. His lawyer just never gave them to him. So sometimes you just don't know. You know, ask your lawyer. I always tell people, ask your lawyer, did they ever get this? If they never did, nothing stops you from doing it for a request of your own records. It's your life. You need to know what's going on. Okay. If my foreign union was just a traditional one and dowry return, do I need a divorce decree? No. And brings me to my next point. If you guys go to Department of State, U.S. Department of State, or just put in U.S. Department of State reciprocity schedule in Google, it will give you the guidelines that both the Department of State, meaning embassy and consulate, and USCIS has to use to know what documents you should submit to satisfy a requirement. So, for instance, if you had a customary marriage, click on your country. I'm Nigerian, so I know a whole lot about Nigerian documents. Click on Nigeria, customary marriage, Islamic marriage, traditional marriage. It will specifically let you know. Customary marriage, there is no required documentation. I have sent in notarized affidavits of, okay, but I doubt but and end of story, and all that kind of stuff. And the end of story. Sometimes some people would rather get something from the customary court saying, this people said this was the day that, the dowry was returned. And so from today henceforth, they're no longer husband and wife. Those will suffice as proof that customary marriage was terminated. The issue people usually have is when they say they were married in a statutory way at the registry, and then you try to present customary marriage as proof of that termination. That ain't gonna work. You're welcome, Aaron. Can I-360 and I-45 take more than 3 years to be approved? It's possible. God's got me. Have you been? Did they check good faith marriage again at 485 after approval? No. Good faith marriage is not part of the 485 interview. No. And I always say it's a 50-50 thing. Like I have a client that we just got. So if you didn't send in your medical, they will send you an RFE for the interview, and then you have to take your medical. Or if they just send you an RFE for you to mail them the medical, that's the first indication that most likely you would not be scheduled for an interview. So my client, we just got that for her and her daughter. So most likely, knock on wood, that means we're not going to have an interview. It was a valid-based case, and her bar has been approved. Okay. Alicia says, I switched from the marriage case, which I think you mean you filed for, which I filed for my son, to a valid case. Receive prima facie determination. What is the next step? It's a waiting game after that. It's a waiting game. That's just the truth. It's a winning game. You're welcome, Mr. Lufemi. Okay. Y'all on TikTok have a lot of questions. Let me start with let me start with Instagram. What's the time? 9:46. All righty. Oh, and that reminds me, please remind everyone every single day in my firm, my front desk, they are always laughing. Ariana used to be angry. She's one of my girls who does phone intake. And I told her, listen, we're Nigerians. We're not very, very aware is not the word I'm looking for. Conscious of time, let alone different time zones. Nigeria, okay, party break at 5. We ain't gonna get there till like 8. You already know. Like 5 and my makeup and all that. So now you want us to try to figure out time zone. But please help me out, people. We've done everything. Like before you even check out and confirm your appointment, it's right there in bold font. Note that it is Alabama Central Time Zone. Central Time Zone. But every day people call, like, I've been waiting. And I'm like, no, your appointment is at 10. It's still 9 o'clock in Alabama. And they're like, oh, I'm a business lawyer. Yeah. So please note we are in Central Time Zone in Alabama. I hope Mr. Ernest had a wonderful birthday. But the name of the Lord be praised. Amen. He is God. He is God. He is God. He is God. He remains God. He remains God. He remains God all by himself. The invisible one who does the impossible. The one who shares the glory with no one. No one. Ralucci says, I'm glad you saved. I'm a physical therapist based in Houston. If you have concerns later. What do you mean if I have concerns? Are you saying, oh, okay, I hear you. But listen, I'm just glad to be fine. I'm just, well, you're in Houston, in Alabama, but I just thank God that I'm fine. And that, yeah, everybody's like, okay, just give me 24 hours. I know. But I'm heading to court again tomorrow. So yeah, so, but getting a rental with insurance, the insurance companies know how to take your money. When it's time for them to pay and get you rental and all that, it's like pulling the tooth. It's like, really, but come on now. But anyway, thank God for how things we deal with it spiritually before we go to court. Yeah, so we do. Okay, let's see. There's a lot of, I'm glad you saved. Thank you. Appreciate that. I appreciate all the prayers. Okay. TLC, does the divorce here override the one in Nigeria? If your Nigerian divorce is not questionable, then there's no reason to get a new one here. The issue is when it's not, it doesn't conform to standard. And do I have cases that are pending that my clients know upfront, like, hey, this is going to be a concern? And like, no, just lay out to verify. This is very, well, okay, hey, as long as I tell you, like, this is my concern, and it's in black and white. Yeah, and people pay a lot of money to even get people to help them verify. Like, I'm talking of no less than $500,000 naira, $1 million naira. It's ridiculous. So I understand, but it's not going to cost. I don't know how much $1 is in naira now, but I don't think it's going to cost you $500,000 naira to get a divorce properly done here, uncontested, and just be done with it. But so it's not a case of overriding it. It just depends on if you need it. But if you get a divorce done here, it goes through their own court system. How are they going to deny what goes through the court system? Do you have any information about attestation of birth from Nigeria? I don't want to get fake one. I've never had, I've never had anyone would have an issue with that. I've just never had. Those ones are pretty straightforward things that people don't. I think you just easily can get it from the National Population Commission. If this happens regards the divorce decree, and I already have Vawa in with that, can I see go ahead and do another divorce decree here? Good question. So if you are in a state that recognizes common law marriage, Oklahoma is one, Texas is one, I think Colorado, but you have to, I don't practice in any of those states when it comes to family law. I have clients in those states, and what I have done is to refer them to lawyers that I know, or tell them to call their state bar and find a family law attorney. What I know is just softest line as far as it's going to be helpful. So if you live in a state like Texas, Texas is a state that recognizes common law marriages. What that matters, why that matters is the Texas code provides that, and I'm paraphrasing, basically, if your prior marriage was not legally terminated, then your current marriage is void, meaning it's like it never happened. However, when you now terminate that prior marriage by getting a divorce, and after the dissolution of that prior marriage, you and your current spouse continue to live together and carry on as husband and wife after the dissolution of that prior marriage, then that current marriage becomes valid for purposes of a valid marriage in the state of Texas. And if a marriage is valid in the state, USCIS is obligated to recognize that marriage. That's the importance, or yes, the advantage of living in a common law marriage state. I think there are about 5. So that gives that, if that's what your situation is, then, and you're still living with the abuser, you're living like in a state like Texas, you may want to go ahead and get the divorce done and continue living as husband and wife as you've been doing, so that if they come back and ask you for that, you have that to provide. What if you have a kid for the U.S. citizen? Will it still be denied? Having a child has nothing to do with proving. That's why I said the common grounds for denial are, the number one is the qualifying relationship. You can have 200 million kids. If that qualifying relationship is not there, and most of it, and the qualifying relationship has to do with you, the immigrant, not having your divorce, your prior marriage legally terminated. It has nothing to do with the abuser. And here's why. If the abuser has committed bigamy, meaning they had previous marriages that they did not legally terminate. I put a post up the other day, but it's true. I had an interview with a client that we converted to. She hired me on the day of the interview because she found out things about the husband, so I never represented the husband. But on the day of the interview, we found out that he was married to 3 people. 2 of the women were scheduled for interviewing the same day. In that regard, we still were able to do a Vawa case because by law, even if there is bigamy issue, as long as the bigamy is on the part of the abuser, meaning the person is legally married to 2 people, or never terminated and married you. So that's bigamy, right? As long as they're the ones guilty of that, and you were never, you were not a part of that, you didn't collude with them, you didn't, you wasn't a conspiracy, you didn't know, you just came to find out later on, you still would qualify. That would still be a qualifying relation because the bigamy is not on your part, it's on their part. So the divorce issue really is usually linked to the immigrant because you haven't shown that your prior marriage has ended legally. So having a kid has nothing if your prior marriage wasn't complete or completely terminated. Okay. Thank you, Craft Freak. Barry said, listen, I'm sure there have people too that are like, you know what, you ain't doing enough for me, I'm going to switch to another lawyer. Like, so my point is everybody does what they can. Every lawyer has their own strength. If you file your Vawa case, how long does it take to receive receipt? It's taking forever now. I have cases that we filed last week in September. We just got receipt notices. My assistant told me, well, I was supposed to go to work, but God had other plans for me. You know, when that happened, I thought I was in a nightmare. I was like, I cannot believe this. I was like, okay. But then I had to change my narrative. And I'm like, you're alive. A car can be fixed. You can move your hands. There's no scratch on you. You walked out of that car. The car was in driveway. It had to be towed, but you're alive. What more do you need? Oh, you can't go to work today. Okay. You're alive. So that his name alone will be glorified. So she said, I'm coming to TikTok that we got some receipt notices, but I know that one of the cases I told her to run through and see if she can find something. So one that I've been expecting, we found it last week in September. It just got in, I think yesterday, but today was when she found it. So it's taking forever. K3 visa, but no longer with her. Is it possible to get my green card? Do you mean K1? K3 visa is a visa you file if you have a pending I-130 that was filed, and then you came in with a K3 and that was still pending. So if you got that, that means you must have been married to the person at some point. Leo 818. So you may want to consult with a lawyer. Yet to get my work permits in September 2021. What category work permit did you file? That's where you need to start. Adinka, Ismak Adinka, having my I-751 interview in 3 weeks. My spouse doesn't want to attend. What options do I have? It's a joint filing. Need to sit down and consult with a lawyer, see if you're going to qualify for any of the self-petition grounds that you can convert to. If your abuser packs out of the house, would it have an effect on your petition? Generally, no. Disclaimer: this is not answers to anyone's specific cases. I'm just giving general answers. Oh, you live in California. Ooh. Yeah. Okay, let me go to TikTok. Can you get TikTok? So keep blasting. Answer a question. Answer. Then yeah, I'm coming. Any arrest misdemeanor got will be approved for Vawa or not? I can't answer that question. Thank you, Femi Atlanta. Is that Jumugo English? Okay. Just look at you. Thank you. It's morning Nigeria. Oh, it's morning Luto. Let's see. GMC problem in Vawa. What's the GMC problem? Case is sealed, no jail, only community service. You still have to provide your record. Even in the sealed case, you still have to provide your record. Okay. Let's see. Some people don't have to behave themselves. So let's see. Okay. Let's see. Hello, Ghanaian wife. Hello from Tuscaloosa. Are you back? Because I think the last time you said you were heading to Ghana. Are you back, or are you still in Ghana? Are you back now? NBC keeps asking for my 2020 taxes. I submitted more than 10 times. You're not alone. I got to a point, one of my clients are like, okay, what part of we've submitted this do you guys not understand? I mean, it took like, I had to send them an email through the public inquiry form that this has been done over and over again before it was finally, we finally got an email saying it's been documentary qualified. So, I mean, send them an email, see if that helps. Do I deal with asylum cases? Yes. I already give my biometrics 2007, which is denied now. I filed Vawa in 9 category. Okay. What is it? Shady 99. I heard marriage-based green card interviews are being waived. How true is that? Yes, it is true that actually they employed immigration officers that actually work remotely from home specifically to review cases that will qualify for interview waiver. So yes, not all, but if you qualify, interviews are being waived. That is true. Yeah, so sexy_tall. How long does it take to get notice from USCIS when you send application for VAWA? That's what I just said. It's no set time frame. I've received some in 2 weeks, and then there's some that it took almost 8 weeks. There's no rhyme or reason with USCIS. Can overstay visa get fixed while staying in the US? Depends on what you're eligible for, so you may want to consult with a lawyer. What do I have to provide for stepchildren with I-130? If you go on the form page, every form page has a courtesy checklist that USCIS provides, so that would be helpful in your case. Ghanaian wife, whenever you're back in Tuscaloosa, let me know. We need to meet up. Who is this? Sissy lawyer is detailed and thorough. Take it from a current client. I know who this is. I know who this is. 𝒊𝒎𝒎𝒊𝒈𝒓𝒂𝒏𝒕. I know who it is. I know from your username, I know who it is. Shem Adilo, my contact information is 334-341-4475. I don't do free consultation. This is my version of free consultation. We offer 30 minutes, 130, 200, for 45 minutes, 230, an hour. What I actually offer is if you retain my services within 15 days, you get that credit towards the attorney fees. But this is my version of free immigration consultation. Can I travel on advanced parole document I got through VAWA? I need to see my son. That's not a yes or no question. Depends on, do you have an asylum case pending? Do you have anything else that may be of concern that would prevent you from going back to your home country? If not, generally AP is safe to travel on, but I cannot tell you whether you can travel or not because you're not my client and I don't know anything about your case. USCIS has my own biometrics. I've had I-45 for VAWA in 9 category. And they give me biometrics for work permit. Yes, they have a right to tell you to do biometrics all over again. I have a couple here that where people that had submitted marriage-based cases that, 2, 3, one was still last year, and they still issued new biometrics appointments. So my husband died 2 years ago. I'm still waiting for my 10-year green card. So sorry about that. Did you contact them yet to see why it's taking long? Let's see. Can I change my month and date of birth during citizenship, not the year? If that's an error, they would ask you to make sure if to correct any error. So once you have your interview, yes, you can correct that and explain why there was an error. Okay. Let's see. How do I share this live link? It would be on my Facebook page. So it's public, so you can just hit the share button once it's done. I don't think you can share it now. I don't know, but I think you can. Unless I've never tried to share during the live. It's then again, I'm the one doing it. So, but like there to be, but it would be up on after we're done. So, does USCIS send receipt notice when you file appeal for VAWA? Yes. Okay. Let's see. I got annoyed from my marriage petition, but I have been going through abuse in the marriage before then, so I just withdraw my case and one sending VAWA instead. With the previous note, will the previous note affect me? Whatever the note you got, if it has to do with good faith, for instance, you still would have to meet that good faith standard. It's just that rather than if the note had to do, for the most part, it usually is attached to the I-130. So if it had to do with your spouse having to explain, good faith or whatever the case may be, once you start putting the VAWA case, then you're going to take the burden of having to prove that good faith because now you're a self-petitioner. What if you live in a state that recognizes common law marriage, putting in mind that one has submitted a document, you divorced your citizen spouse already, then immigration-based issues with your divorce, what do you do? That's a problem. I don't know the answer to that one, because common law marriage requires that after the divorce, you're still living with that person and carrying on as husband and wife. How do you prove that? Same good faith shared residence proof. But now that you're already divorced from the person, unless you can show that you still shared residence with them and carried on as husband and wife, that's what you'll have to do and see if you have enough evidence to prove that. All right, people. Okay, so thank you very, very much for joining me. I think this was a very, very important topic for so Shine Robert says, hey, Mr. Olufemi, Shine Robert says you just let me put it on the screen. You share the link by clicking on share. I just did to some friends now. So I think on your end, you should be able to see the share button and just click it. Thank you, Shine Robert. I appreciate that. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. Hello, Miss Gill. How are you? I appreciate you all giving me company. I thank God for life. I thank God for life. And like I said yesterday, put their hands up to heaven and just praise him and thank him for that which he's about to do, what he has done, what he's about to do, what he will continue to do, that he will continue to exceed our expectations. He will keep us safe, that we shall fulfill all the days or the number of our days. Our lives will not be cut short. And I thank you guys, and I'll see you guys